Hello and welcome. My name is Clara from Creations by Claire. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I paint and apply a air dry clay on two wood houses I purchased from Michael's on clearance last year and transformed them into beautiful, cute gingerbread houses. I will first work on the lodge wood house, removing the stickers, and they were pretty clean. So it didn't really wipe too much. I just used a little baby wipe to clean off any dust since I had them sitting for about a year. And I was so excited to see something on Pinterest on gingerbread houses. I've always wanted a gingerbread house, and I may have made one with actual gingerbread many years ago, but these are going to be permanent and can be displayed for years and years since they're actually on wood. I will paint the whole house, also the bottom, with chalk paint, and it's the color Plaster by Waverly. And we'll be applying 2 coats and let it completely dry before I apply the next color. I used Goo Be Gone to clean the sticky residue from the bottom sticker, and it did clean it very well. So after the chalk paint dried, I'm trying to decide which one acrylic paint to use, nutmeg or coffee bean. And I think I like this nutmeg, but I'm going to put a sample on the back to see which one I'm going to go with. This is Vince. We've had him like 20 years. He's a mixed Chihuahua Corgi. He likes to be by my side, which I'm glad keeps me company as I'm doing my crafts. So here's the nutmeg. It's really pretty. And my brush is kind of thin, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to put at least 3 coats of this acrylic paint. I changed my mind somewhere during the painting. I added the color bisque to the nutmeg and it made a lighter brown. But you'll see later on that I went back to just full on nutmeg. It's pretty, but I did like the little deeper color of the brown. Here I'm trying out different frames to be the base of the houses. I finished painting all the walls in the house. I left the roof white, but if you keep on looking at my video, you'll see I did changing, it'll be the surprise if you keep watching. I used these molds I had purchased from Amazon. Uh, this kind of a little bit ornate type rope for going up in the top, and this kind of bubble rope for the bottom of the house. And I did paint. I painted the clay with clay paint, the color Plaster by Waverly. As soon as I pulled them off the mold, and I did like that they had not dried yet, so that when it does dry, it could dry flatter. And also I had to do little cuts to make it fit around the house. And you can see I kind of paste or the two pieces I used for the upper part of the house because it did not have enough. Or and I also wanted to use all the clay as best I could. And I'm not worried about it. I'm going to either fill it in with plaster or fill it in with some paint that I'll be using for some designs on the house. I'll be using Gorilla wood glue, though if you have anything else, it'll probably will work fine, like E6000 or some other type of wood glue. So I made sure I had the right cuts for the house before I began gluing so I can glue all at one time. So I'm just making sure it fits tightly against up the roof line and up to the edge. I inserted a picture of the silicone mold I use for these rope-like castings, and I'll list it in the description on where I purchased them from. So for the whole house, I I glued the mold or the castings on the ends and at the bottom just to make it more ornate as a gingerbread house will be. And I'm sorry, I apologize. This is a long video, so I'm going to put some timelines in the description so you can move ahead if you want to. But didn't want to miss too much uh, of making this little house. It did take quite a bit. Well, it did quite a bit because this is my first time making a gingerbread house with clay castings and painting. Uh, but I hope you enjoy it and you can make one for yourself as well. Just look out for these wooden houses from Michael's or any other craft store or maybe used, and you can make your own with clay or other little craft materials that you may have laying around. On this other side, I applied this painter's tape to hold the casting. It was it seemed to be sliding, and I wanted to work on the front side next before it dried completely. So That's to hold the casting from sliding. And as I thought about it, I probably could have put a little spot of hot glue, uh, but I just used the straight wood glue and just taped this, and this held it very well. So here in the front of the house, I'm using another third kind of casting for the bottom edge of the house. And this one's a little more ornate, and they kind of look like little gingerbread men, uh, uh, laying down sideways. There's the mold, and I went and cut it at the door end. But I'm using the same. I don't know what to call this rope mold or casting, but it's the same all the way around, just to make it simpler. This is use the same one on the I guess it would be vertical, going vertical with this rope casting. There, I'm cutting it. So that's one good thing, is to not have your clay completely dry. That way you can cut it as you need to. And I made a little slot there for the sign. And I'm using a little paintbrush, a dry paintbrush, to sweep away the little dust. I can't remember what YouTuber gave me this idea. A hot glue gun to make these icicles, and just did it on the back of that silicone mold, and it worked perfectly. Just took about less than 5 minutes to dry, to harden. So I'm going to be putting those on the top edges of the roof pretty soon. So I'm here using the Baroque, the little less, not so wide, uh, Baroque mold to put in the front of the V-neck, V-shaped roof line. And I'm trying to press in really well. These molds are break very easily for me, or maybe I have not learned how to use it very well. But I had to make sure I press in very well, and of course use cornstarch. I don't know if I showed you. Put cornstarch so it can easily slide off. And one piece broke off, but I glue it right back on, and you won't see it. And I use this little card to hold the casting, and it helped a lot instead of using my hands and having it flop over. So that one looked like it hardened a little bit, so that was okay. It worked out fine this time. Also made using the air dry clay, made 2 candy canes. And here I'm cutting it to size. I did make a paper template. I just laid a piece of white paper over those ski poles in front of the house, just for the size, and then drew it on the paper, and then you laid it over the clay and just cut it out. And then, but I did still have to do some adjusting, little snips here and there. And you can see I painted them brown instead of the customary red, and tied a little, what do you call these sticks? Little tinsel sticks. There's a name to them, but I can't remember. And it's glued it down right underneath. And here's what I mentioned earlier. I changed my mind and painted the roof and all in brown. And I will glue some icicles here that I made with the hot glue gun. And I just used the back of the silicone mold, the Baroque mold, and it worked perfect for these icicles. And doing it on a slant, these icicles helped a lot to show me how to glue down the little dropped icicles. I saw this on Pinterest, these little waves on top of the roof of a gingerbread house. And I think it's supposed to represent maybe the snow and the rain or the ice on top of the roof line. But I liked it. So, and I had been, was thinking to use puff paint, but this glue gun works so much better. The lines were much thicker as it was in the Pinterest. So now I'm going down my glue gun icicles on top of the roof, on the roof lines, on the just the top, and did not paint them, left them clear. I switched to using E6000 for the icicles. That held and glued on faster than the wood glue. So if the front starts falling, I'm going to redo them with E6000. And here with the hot glue gun, I'm going to make the little waves on the roof line. I probably should have penciled in the little waves. Some did come a little bigger than the others, a little, uh, they didn't, we're not in synchronized, but they still look good because as you'll see in a few moments, I'm going to be covering the roof with glitter. And then won't be able to tell the difference. I decided to paint the door brown because I will be doing some little swirls on the door using Americana Writer, acrylic dimensional writer over those over a design there. I did pre-draw the swirls using a Posca white pen, I use Pinterest for a lot of the inspiration on these designs. Though looking at Pinterest, so many complicated designs, I just found the most simplest, or else I would never get this gingerbread house done. So it's just simple little swirls and curves that I picked up from various many gingerbread house designs. And as you can see on top, I've already painted the waves on in the nutmeg. Here's the other side of the house outlining with the paint, puff paint. Because the front was a smaller area, I used this, it's a white paint called Americana Writer, acrylic dimensional writer. It's almost like the puff paint, but the edge is a little, uh, uh, the paint just comes out a little at a time, but not that easy. You have to be careful, or it did come out with too much with the pressure of my fingers. So I'm outlining the candy cane also, so it can kind of pop a little bit nicer. And I will be doing on the opposite side, on the left side of the gingerbread house, and just a simple outlining of the door with little dots. These little dots sure make the design pop. Using the app Google Drawings, I the font in reverse transfer, Santa's Workshop in red, and I'm decoupaging the front sign where it used to say Lodge. I'm going to put a little bit of Mod Podge and just laying it down with my fingers, and I'm going to wait 24 hours, and I'm going to remove it with a little wet paper towel and my fingers. And here it is 24 hours later, and we're with a dampened paper towel to moisten that area and rubbing it out with my fingers, and it just coming out so pretty. And one thing I didn't show here on video, I did take some antique wax and just slightly around the edges, I touched up the edges just to make it a little bit antique-y, little old, little weathered. Now it's time for the glitter. So first time, put a piece of paper, big piece of paper underneath the house so it could capture all the loose glitter after I shake it off. So I'm applying the Mod Podge to glue down to hold down the glitter. So I'm putting it on kind of thick, and I'm going to, and I sprinkled the glitter almost immediately after. So just open 2 little holes on the very top and sprinkle down the rows between those little waves. Now applying the Mod Podge to the front slant of the gingerbread house, putting it on quite thickly, and also applying it to the clay moldings on the side, so that also can glitter. So now I'm ready to seal the bottom part of the house that does not have glitter. So I'm going to apply a coat of Mod Podge to seal, and I will apply at least 2 coats. I'm letting it dry completely after each coat and then applying the second coat. So the first gingerbread house is done. Wait to the end and you will see the reveal of the completed of this gingerbread house. And here we are. I'm going to create the coffee shop into a gingerbread house. I will be painting this house using plaster, the color Plaster by Waverly is chalk paint, and giving it 2 coats and letting it dry in between the coats. And again, I tried the nutmeg with the color bisque mixed into it, and I will change the color, but I did paint everything, all the bottom of the house, the bottom sides in the back with nutmeg. I will be using this Baroque style mold. I just got it from Amazon. It has a lot of pretty molds, but I had to make sure I use the cornstarch before I put in the air dry clay, because I'm not very good at these thin molds, but they do come out really nice if you make sure you press them in very well and remove any excess. I will be using the same castings or the same mold as I used in the lodge for the sides and at the bottom for this second gingerbread house. I really liked that design. It just made it much more simpler for the and quicker knowing what design I was going to use. And as soon as I pulled them off the mold, I started painting it with this color Plaster Chalk Paint. And it just took just a few, even I would put it on wet, glued them on wet. It was easier to cut the size and gluing down. And now gluing these Baroque designs in the front of the house. And I'm sorry, it's not in range, the video's not in range, but you'll see it as soon as I finish gluing. And they're really nice. These already, the house already had these little icicles as part of the wood design, and it looked really nice with these Baroque designs. I'm making more rope castings to apply to the sides of the bottom of the house and painting them with the color Plaster. I did not make sufficient at this time to cover the whole house. I had to do it in separate intervals because I knew I was going to be getting interrupted. and I didn't want them to dry. Uh, I wanted to glue them on wet. So the three were not enough to finish the whole house. So I'm just going to show you just a few parts, but it's pretty much was the same using the same rope, Baroque, for the sides, all the ends and the sides, and I try to glue them. Gonna glue them as close as I could to the edge with the wood glue. I'm also gluing the same rope casting on top of the roof around the whole square. I'm applying this painter's tape so that it wouldn't slide, and it was best to put it in almost toward the center since it seems like it was dropping down in the center area. And here I'm touching up some areas with the nutmeg where the paint it looked like it was a little bit light. And also I'm touching up with the color of plaster where I touched it by accident with nutmeg. And I changed my mind on the door. It's going to be the color of nutmeg because I'll be doing some designs in the front door. And here I am penciling in the lines on the roof. I'm going to be using the puff paint for on those drawing with puff paint on those lines, and I spaced the lines 1 inch apart. So I drew this just a little pencil in a little line with the pencil 1 inch apart. And I did have trouble. I guess I had trouble with my geometry, drawing the lines, the diagonal lines on the roof, but I got it in. And I did, uh, before I added the puff paint, I did slightly erase some of the lines. I was a little heavy with the pencil, so I didn't want them to show through. I used a hair dryer to see if I could get the puff paint to puff a little bit more, and it didn't seem to do anything. The direction says to use a steam iron, but it's, like I said, it didn't look like it did, but the paint seemed to swell on its own. So I'm actually quite happy with the thickness of the lines without using the hair dryer anymore, or a steam dryer. And here I'm going to draw in the make it look like brick on the chimney. Here I'm using Posca pen to make a little bit of swirl designs. And my inspiration was using just pictures of other gingerbread houses, just tidbits of other people's designs. Very simple swirls and dots. And at the bottom, I made a boo-boo. So I just tried to wipe it out, and it doesn't wipe very cleanly. So I did the best I can, and I'm going to come back with the color nutmeg once it dries. And also outlining the little windows with just a little bit of puff paint. Here in the front, I'm using or I started to use the puff paint, but then I switched to the Americana Writer that has a smaller opening for a uh, thinner drawing on the to draw out the white swirls in the dots. I constantly clean the end of the tip of the paint bottle just to remove any excess paint. Here I'm applying the last swirl with the American Writer, and one of my dots went over, so I'll clean that up wipe it off and then repaint it with nutmeg. And now I'm going to apply the glitter on the roof. I'm going to do one side at a time. Painting. This time I use regular Elmer's glue instead of Mod Podge. I had heard that some of the glitter, some YouTubers using Mod Podge, and it wasn't holding the glitter well. So using Elmer's glue worked great. So I decided to try this Elmer's glue on this house. So I'm applying it on the clay castings on the side, and just putting as much glue as I can, and just sprinkling on the glitter in the little squares. Here I'm touching up with nutmeg on the dot that overflowed when I was painting the swirl, and I'm also gluing the little wreath to the front. I'm going to be using Mod Podge to seal the entire house, only on the bottom or on the parts that did not have glued applied. And it will be 2 coats, and I will let it dry completely in between coats. I'm using these square plastic frames. I painted the edges with plaster, the color plaster, and removed the glass, and cut a cardboard square to fit in the inside, and we'll be painting also the cardboard. This is going to serve as the base for the gingerbread house. I'm painting these little knobs with the color plaster. I'm going to use them as feet for the bottom of the frame. And I'm going to be using these clay castings to surround the edges of the frame, and it's also so it could hide the cracks between the frame and the cardboard. I'll be using Gorilla Glue to glue down the castings, and they're going to be glued right over the seam between the cardboard and the frame. Now I'm going to paint the castings with the color plaster, and once it dries, I'm going to apply glitter, and I use the Elmer's School glue, and brushed it on, scored it on with the bottle, and just brushed on, and applying the glitter just in the areas where I spread the Elmer's glue. Once the front of the frame was dried, I'm gluing on the small feet with Gorilla Glue. And here's a transformation of the wooden houses into gingerbread houses. One's a Santa's workshop, and the other is Santa's and Mrs. Claus' home. If you enjoyed my tutorial and are inspired by these gingerbread houses, please like and subscribe and share. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.